Hi guys, welcome to Perseverance Software Training Institute. All right, I'm Sai. So this is of series of Kubernetes in English. All right. Okay. We already understood the difference between the tools Docker and Kubernetes, right? So Docker is container creation tool and Kubernetes is container orchestration or container management tool. All right. So if you check out the you know maybe kind of definition of Kubernetes. If you see, Kubernetes also referred to as K8. So we basically call it as K8s in short because the numbers, the number of letters between K and S is around 8. So we call as K8s in short. And it is an open source platform used to manage containerized applications across private, public, and hybrid cloud. So we can manage Kubernetes, meaning we can have Kubernetes utilized on any of the environments. It might be on-premise or any cloud environments or hybrid, anything as such. All right. Okay. So let's deep dive into what is Kubernetes architecture. All right. So this video focuses on the architecture of Kubernetes. All right, so let's go with the architecture now. Yeah, the Kubernetes operates in master worker node architecture. All right, so it operates in master and worker node architecture. So let's kickstart with master node now. So in master node, see, if you see, right, master node is nothing but, I would say, like, it is a node, right, which is basically used for managing, planning, scheduling, monitoring, everything as such, right, every activity. All right, so it is used, everywhere there. Okay, so that is all about master. So master is something like we also call it as control plane. All right, so one second. So if I tell you, so master is also called as control plane. All right, so this master is referred as control plane as well. So on control plane we have four main components. All right, so let me tell you. Yeah, these are all the four components. Okay, all right, so we are going through Kubernetes architecture. So it has an architecture with master and worker nodes, right? So master is something like which manages everything, which plan everything, which schedules everything, and which monitors everything. All right, so we have how it is achieved. All right, it is achieved using these four components on master server. So this is our master server now, which looks why I'm keeping like this is it is the it's kind of a cruise ship model. So we'll get to know why we put this kind of structure here. All right, yeah. Okay, so we have Cube API server, etcd, Cube scheduler, and controller manager. All right, all right, so let's get kickstart with this. So Cube API server is nothing but it is the core component on the master node. All right, so this particular Cube API server will basically receives the instructions from the user, and according to that it basically performs all the actions inside the cluster. I mean, cluster meaning combination of master and worker nodes. Okay, that is cluster. Okay, fine. So it performs all the actions internally, like it talks to every other component and perform required action. So I can tell it is kind of a heart of the complete entire Kubernetes architecture. Okay, so Kube API server, so it receives the instruction, is it performs respective actions. All right, so the core responsibility of Kube API server is that, right? So basically, as I told, we have something like worker node. So I'll cover later like what will be there on worker nodes. So just for now, worker nodes is the place where we have our workloads as containers, meaning all the containers will reside on worker nodes. All right. So this is worker node. If you see here, or we have multiple containers, right? All these are containers. Okay. All right. So on worker nodes, we have all the workloads which runs as containers. Workloads are nothing but our applications, right? Okay. This Cube API server is responsible for every action. Okay, it talks to etcd, Cube scheduler, controller manager, and it performs all the required actions, and it directs somebody, that somebody will get to know later, right? And it ensures to place the required containers on required worker nodes. Okay, so it has a huge responsibility. Okay, so I'll explain it again in some time, because we need to know what these three components are, then you can get a greater sense of what Kube API server is. All right, fine. So now HCD is nothing but a data store for the cluster, meaning simply it have the cluster state. Okay, all the time it have the cluster state, meaning how many worker nodes are there, how many pot I mean containers are there available, right? What is being done, everything will be stored uh, in HCD. All right, in key value pair. Key value in the sense maybe name equal to, all right, a sai. So it's a key value pair, right? So n equal to key, and I mean n is key, s is value. A simple example, a equal to maybe 5. So a is key, 5 is value. So 5 will be stored in a, right? So in the same way, in this uh, key value strategy, data is stored on HCD. So it stores the cluster information, complete cluster information. So that is where we can call it as data store for Kubernetes master. No, not master, Kubernetes complete architecture, right? All right, see, just keep in mind that this complete architecture, all right, combination of master and worker nodes, we call as Kubernetes cluster. All right, cluster is nothing but a group of things, right? So yeah, we call as Kubernetes cluster. So it have the cluster state all the time. Okay, what is the state of the cluster, how many worker nodes, how many containers, etc., etc. All right, fine. And what is kube scheduler now? So kube scheduler is the one which proposes Kube API server, like let me tell you, let me expand this. So a requirement came to deploy a container, right? We have two worker nodes here, worker node 1, worker node 2, right? So we need to take a decision on which worker node this new container you know should be placed. Okay, so in that context, right, so kube scheduler is responsible for monitoring all these worker nodes. And sorry, what it does is it proposes to API server stating that, okay, see, this particular container should be placed on worker node 2, meaning this. Why? Because it have some strategies to follow. So again, right, I'll go with kube scheduler, control manager, HCD in a separate slide, but just for now, right, kube scheduler have a strategy where it take decision and proposes to kube API server to to schedule the container, okay, on required node, which is worker node 2. Then kube API server will direct the required workload on this worker node 2. Okay, so that happens. That is the job of scheduler. And what is controller manager? It is nothing but we have multiple objects on Kubernetes, I mean in Kubernetes technology, right? So we have something like pod, we have something like deployment, replica set, many will come across everything, right? So every object, right, even worker nodes, this worker node should be monitored, should be controlled by someone. So this controller manager will have multiple controllers. So maybe to manage worker nodes, we have something like node controller. Okay, like to manage some other object, we have some other controllers. So all controllers will be available here. That controllers will be taking care of the respective objects wellness. That's it. All right, so how they are performing, whether they are performing good, if there are some issues encountered, so what actions to be taken, everything as such, it takes the decision and then it directs to. All right, yeah, 1 second. Yeah, it takes a decision and this directs to Cube API server that, okay, so maybe for example, in controller manager we have something like node controller. So what it does, it monitors the node, the worker nodes, whether these are working fine or not. So basically this node controller, if it identifies worker node 2 is not healthy, this node, the node controller inside controller manager will update that information to Kube API server, stating that worker node 2 is not healthy, please do not place any workloads there. Then API server will basically perform further actions. All right, yeah. So that's it, guys. So this video we have covered master node, all right, and the components and what is the responsibility of each and every component, right? In coming video we'll see about what are worker nodes exactly and what components are available on worker nodes to manage our workloads as containers. All right, fine, guys. Thank you, thanks for your time. We'll get back with a new video.